We get there. We're getting out. They get their nets. You know, they got the trunk of the car open, everything else. At the time, you're supposed to take milk jugs, because when you use milk jugs to catch smelt, you leave the top on so you can fit the smelt down through, so on and so forth. Plus, I think you're only allowed to get a gallon of smelt every time or something. We went to head down over, and I'm walking, and I got a net in my hand and everything else, but I left my milk jug up in the car. So I turned to my buddy and I said, "Hey Frank, grab this. I got to go back to the car." And I said, "Dave, where are we going?" He says, "Just follow the path. You can't miss it." So anyways, I go back to the car. I'm fumbling around. I go to take a leak, and I grab the milk jug, and I get in the car and get my can of snuff, because I'm a chewer and always have been. But I get my can of snuff. I close the door. Now, to be honest with you, this is something that confuses me, because I'm almost positive I slammed that car door. Okay? But it apparently didn't play an effect. So what happens is I get out of the car, I come around, I now have my milk jug. You know, I come walking to an embankment, probably about 4-foot embankment. I get on the 4-foot embankment, I start walking about 75 yards, maybe 60 to 75 yards, it wides off. Okay, there's 2 paths. Now, I can't tell you what's at the end of each path, because I never made it that far. I could hear the brook, like, I don't know, off in the distance, so I took the path to the right. And I start walking down the path to the right, and I'm just moping along, so on. So I put a chew in, and I hear this whistle, like something like that, and then I hear like a crash. So I look to my left, and I didn't see anything, and then when I turned around, about 20 feet, 20-some feet away, it was standing up against a tree, and it turned its head like this, turned its whole shoulders like this, and looked right at me. When it did that, it sort of snarled. I could see the eye teeth. They actually have like little I don't know how long it was, but the mouth was real long. The teeth weren't real white, but they were like a yellowish color. Yeah, I mean, and to be honest with you, I started tingling. I dropped my head. I was afraid to look for very long. I didn't want to think that, like, I was going to come after it. So I put my head down like this, but I'm still watching, you know, like this, and it's looking at me like this, and it's starting to rock back and forth, and I don't know what's going on, and I'm kind of like, I'm shaking, and, hold on. No, the moon was out. It was pretty light out. I could still fairly see well, and I didn't have... Sorry. When I seen the teeth and it was rocking back and forth, that shook me, you know. It didn't turn the whole way, it just turned its shoulders. Yep. Because the reason, because I played this over in my mind 1,000 times. It was maybe 3-4 feet off the path on a tree. Okay, it wasn't on the path, it was 3-4 feet. See, apparently the guys had taken the other path. Apparently, when I caught him turning around, he was looking down where they were at. I don't know if he was watching, you know, I'm assuming he was watching them. Right. And the size of this thing is phenomenal. I mean, I'm talking between 3.5 and 4 foot wide. And I'm talking, when he turned to the side, the thickness of the chest was probably 2.5 to 3 feet thick. That's, I mean, big, burly chested, you know. And this is what I was getting back about the hair, because I keep thinking about this with the hair. Well, you know, they aren't able to find the core in the hairs and all this stuff. Right. You know, and when it started to turn, it like flashed white for like because I never even looked down at the lower legs, to be honest with you, because there was a lot of underbrush hair and things like that. And I put my head down, but I still was looking up through the top of my eyes, like at the top part. But when it turned, I was looking right at it because I hadn't dropped my head yet, and it sort of like flashed white and then went to black, like the black with the shiny coat. You know what I'm saying? It almost looked like it was sprayed with oil or something like that. The hair was not this comb shit. It was like knotted and things like this. You know, and when it started rocking, I could see the hair on the back of its arm like slinging back and forth. Well, over the body it was, but believe it or not, it looked like it had like a hairdo. It like hair coming down along the back. Had like hair across the face and across the chin like a beard,
right.
you know, except for right around the eyes, real heavy brow, that type of thing, and around the lips. You know, you could make, when it grimaced, you know, I could make out the long mouth and everything. So,
wow.
you know, it's one of these situations where when it started rocking, I really got shooken so bad that I put my head down, and I don't know how long it stood there rocking, to be honest with you. It could have been 1 second, but it felt like an eternity.
Mm-hmm.
And then it took off. And I'm going to tell you right now that when it took off, it was kind of like, I seen like 1, 2 steps, crash, and it was gone. I don't know what, I didn't even turn my head to try to follow it. I still had my head down. I could only see like as far as my eyes would let me see.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So I seen this, and I'm standing there, and I'm like in disbelief, and my body's tingling. You know, I might have even pissed myself a little bit, I don't know. I'm standing there, and I'm like, there's no way in hell that I am walking down there, but where did they go? Where did they go? You know, that type of thing. So I finally turn around, and I walk back to the car, and I get in the car, and I wind the windows up, and about 45 minutes later, I'm sitting in the back of the car, and my buddy comes up, and he says, where the hell were you at? I said, what do you mean? He says, we're all done, we've got our limit, you got to get down there and get yours. I said, it could have went clear as high as 9 foot tall, but between 7.5 feet, 9 foot tall. I'm going to tell you now, I never went back. People, you know, I told a couple of my buddies this, that they're like, well, how did you never go back, and why didn't you go? I couldn't bring myself to go back. I couldn't. I honestly couldn't.